The reason I don't mention this very often is that I don't want to be identified with the terrorists who failed to warn what they knew so that they could set up a parlor game of infinite discreets from the, pernicious invasive psychology of Brian Eno testing and poking and making various allegations about the content of the character in the golem and so forth. I don't want to be identified with it, and so sometimes I bypass things that are proof of the nightmare that Leslie Katz and Schulman and Fripp set up to entrap somebody who was deaf and couldn't figure out what was going on, couldn't hear what people were saying, constantly being battered and subject to horrible innuendos. And eventually it escalated into my loved ones being murdered and raped and horrible threats. But Leslie Katz and Amy Shapiro used to go out in the woods with a wolf pack calling themselves the Liberal Religious Youth, the LRY, from the Unitarian Church. And they would yell. I never did it. I didn't like it. I couldn't understand why they were doing it, but they would yell at the top of their lungs, gonna rape, kill, pillage, and burn, gonna rape, kill, pillage, burn, and eat babies. And they would say it over and over at the top of their lungs. The state police came one time and to investigate, this rowdy scene in the woods, led by a tall weirdo with red hair. And they said, who are you? Why are you this group camping out here? Leslie had dragged me along on a camping trip. And they said LRY, and he said, what's that stand for? They said Liberal Religious Youth, and he said figures. What figures is that they had a hostage of a liberal religious youth who they were desensitizing to the phrases that they wanted, like eat babies. I mean, McGuff made so much of my saying that if somebody says something terrible like that about Jewish people, my advice is to just ignore them. Martha Gellhorn said the same thing in her letter to me. What's the problem? The problem is that Leslie Katz was the person who was using these phrases, screaming them at the top of their lungs. Rape, kill, pillage, and burn. This was Leslie Katz doing this. And the coward Fripp put all of what she was doing off on me so that he could cover for Gail Burston.